I'm smiling. I'm happy. It's We Gotta Believe. Let me make sure I tweet it so that we can get the people going. Because when there's good news in Mets land, we got to capitalize. We got to take advantage of it. We got to, good Mets news.
You got to shake ass!
Wow! Yeah, good Mets news is so rare that it approaches the where were you when status, Usually that's reserved for tragedies or like historical importance. It's just for us, like, do you remember where you were when something actually good happened in this franchise? And honestly, Clem, I consider just rerunning our first episode when we thought Steve Cohen was going to buy it, because it's the same emotions, it's the same feelings, except it's happening this time. Clem, it's happening. Now, let me say this, because I know people are talking about the mush again. Let me just – I'm all over the place because I'm so excited. Let's just set the scene. Yesterday was the day for the first round bids to purchase the Mets from the motherfucking Wilpons. We knew that the A-Rod, J-Lo, Rapoli gang put out $1.7 billion. A solid offer. That was higher than I expected. I really didn't know if those guys were going to be legitimate contenders. But 1.7 for a team with no TV network attached to it, that's a good offer. Then we heard Steve Cohen didn't make a bid. And then we heard he did make a bid. We heard he was not part of this round because he already was involved as a minority, blah, blah, blah. We heard all these things. Then we heard there was a bid, but we didn't know the number. And then around, 11 o'clock last night, word leaks out that Uncle Stevie Cohen took his $4 billion dick and just dropped it on the table, offering $2 billion for the Mets. And if the Wilpons change their mind or could be persuaded to sell SNY, the Mets TV network, another $2 billion. So he is the highest bidder. And what I'm excited about, because the Wilpons could still fuck this up with regards to Cohen, but the fact that there's this safety net of the $1.7 billion offer from Team J-Rod, I think that means, like, bare minimum, we are officially getting rid of the Wilpons, right?
You have to.
No. So pull out again, right?
So we're taping this on Friday because we said, hey, let's see what the bids were. We didn't think they'd be by 12 o'clock, which is when we usually record on Thursday. Obviously, we didn't get anything till last night. Then that Cohen news breaking like right before bedtime for me because completely fucked me up. Like I wasn't able to sleep. I just slept with like the Donald Duck thing where he just has the boner the entire time. That was me the entire night. I have a little bit left in my reserves after the vasectomy, and I could have put a kid in the wife last night if she was willing and able. But nonetheless, I don't know where I'm going right now. I'm just confused right now, man. It seems like this has to be the end of the Wilpons. Yeah. It should be the beginning of Cohen, and at the very least, our second option, which I personally have, like the A-Rod Rapoli bid is like a second or like a third tier behind Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen is so clearly the chosen one, the prodigal son, the prince that was promised. That's what he is. He's the prince that was promised. It's so close, Kev, but it's so far away still. I said, this is what I compared it to. I just blogged about the A-Rod bid. Jacob deGrom. Steve Cohen just went 7 innings, put his dick on the table, is giving the ball to the manager, and it's like, as Mets fans are like, this is when we fucking make our bones as Mets fans.
Hold on. Buckle up. Because nothing is official until it's official. And I understand that the Wilpons are A, incompetent, 2, spiteful, and D, fucking incompetent. So, like, anything can happen. But here's what I'll say. I do believe that, like I said, bare minimum, it's going to be somebody, which is like, that's all I've asked for. And in regards to Steve Cohen, I know that there's some bad blood. I know that there's a little bit of probably some macho shit going on. And they have made it very clear that if they can sell to someone else, they would prefer that. But if these motherfuckers now, of all times, decide that this is when they're not going to be about money and when they're not going to let the cash rule, if now all of a sudden they're going to talk about, money isn't everything because they want to sell to a different person for different reasons, well, fuck that. These guys have been about nothing but money their entire time. They are drowning in debt. They do have aspirations to continue their other business, which is real estate, which is also fucked. They need every penny they can get. And so if these guys turn around and accept a $300 million less bid, I don't know what I'm going to – I mean, I don't know. I'll have to pull like a Dave here. Like, I'm going to do something I'll regret. Because
Yeah.
that would be so fucking ironic, or whatever the fucking word captures how much I will not be able to comprehend the Wilpons of all times deciding to go for less money. They've already lost $1 billion. They went from 2.6 down to 1.7 with the Rapoli bid. Like, how much more are they willing to hemorrhage here just out of what? Competition, spite, anger, whatever the problem is with Cohen. It can't be that deep, by the way. Like, they had one bad negotiation, unless there's something going on that, like, Cohen and the Mets have had issues forever. I can't imagine there being like let me ask you this, Clem. How mad would you have to be to like, what kind of anger is worth several hundred $100 million?
In a pandemic state where the entire world is going to be fucked up for a while, God knows how the fallout's going to come from all this. You have to just go with the safest thing at some point, no matter what. And let alone, like, I think they said he would have to be like $250 million more, which he's probably like, I'm sure Steve Cohen's like, fuck these guys, though. Yeah. At the same point, he's like, fuck these guys. But like, at the same point, like, he probably actually understands it too, because he's a motherfucker in his own right, right? So he probably gets it more than anything.
Now, but here's what I don't understand. Round one, $2.6 billion. That included SNY, right?
I don't know if that included SNY.
Was SNY? I thought SNY was in the mix last time. Do you know? Has SNY always been off the table?
Oh, yeah, it was off the table originally, and then he offered to buy it, which is the same thing now. They're saying, he's like, I'll take the team if I need I want the team, and the SNY is just like icing on top.
That makes sense.
And I think his bid, his reported bid, I don't know if it's $2 billion, and then I saw 1.5. No matter what, he's giving like a fucking lot of money for SNY. I don't think SNY, as much of a cash cow as it is, he's still going above market for that as well, which I think kind of helps.
A lot of people are saying, stop talking about $4 billion because SNY is off the table. But what that says to me is he has $4 billion to play with. So
fuck you money.
Yeah, if it's like, if he does somehow get in a bidding war or is being told he has to pay a premium, that's the only thing where I can see, in my mind, Steve Cohen is like 100% committed, like he wants it. The only thing I could see is if the Wilpons are just unnecessarily trying to charge him a premium, that eventually he might be like, fuck you. Because I can't imagine how hard would it be to swallow your pride in front of Jeff Wilpon at the negotiating table. Even if I had $100 trillion, and this is literally ashtray money, which is basically what, a couple $100 billion is to Steve Cohen, the principle of like, Jeff Wilpon's looking me dead in the eyes. He's telling me I'm going to fuck you, and I just have to let him. That would be tough to swallow, literally and figuratively. But I think that this means it's going to take Wilpon incompetence or Wilpon spite to end this, because Cohen is it. I wasn't sure what his bid was going to be. I wasn't sure how serious he was going to be. Throwing around $4 billion when there's 1.7 on the table is like, it's his to lose and it's the Wilpons to fuck up. Now that's a very big possibility, but I can't imagine two things. I can't imagine the Wilpons taking less money, and I can't imagine the owners have to approve, two-thirds of the owners have to approve this. Now, if I'm another owner, I'd be like, I don't give a fuck that you don't like this other guy. We want to set the market for all franchises as high as possible, and if we can get $300 million more, you are going to put away your little fucking spat. You're going to put away your feelings, and we're going to take like the highest bid here, because this is fucking about money and business and like cash rules. So I just don't see how the Wilpons even could get away with not going to Cohen if he is, if J-Rod and them come back and they're like really close, if they go to like 1.9, maybe. But a difference of $300 million, I think, is like, you have to go with Steve, right?
These guys, like the baseball owners, all they've done is like just basically sewered their sport for the last 3 months, right? Just dragging it through the coals and making us all fucking despise it for like every single dollar they can get. They're not going to be like, all right, Jeff, you know, in New York of all places, we're just going to let you take a lesser bid. I'm sure these guys probably want to have a guy like Cohen in their little fucking fraternity or whatever. Instead
of, what would be great for baseball? Mookie Betts in Queens, okay? And like that's the kind of shit that's going to happen if Steve Cohen owns this team. It's going to draw. It's rising tides, man. And Rapoli and company would be a good plan B. But if you're talking about what's best for a New York big market, potentially adding another crown jewel franchise, it's like the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers and teams like that are what like drive baseball. And if you could just add a whole other franchise that operates that way, that's good for fucking everybody. To see the Mets have basically been a small market team, and to see them go big market and to see how much more they flourish. Well, maybe there's a couple other owners out there that are like, maybe the Indians finally sack up and they're like, wow, when the Mets shelled out the money for Mookie Betts, what if we did that for Lindor? Like there's a lot of dominoes that can fall when good things happen to a franchise that should have been good all this time and wasn't. It just, all signs are pointing to Steve Cohen. It has to happen. It has to happen, right? It has to happen.
It's already been out there that it was 2.6. So to turn around and go, well, we already messed up the $2.6 billion deal. We're going to take 1.7. Like, there's no shot the other owners are signing off on that in the biggest market because it drives the price of all the other teams down. It's like the MLBPA. Like, they can't give back money on a contract to go to a different team if they want to play for it. It's the same thing.
Yes. And I wish, I know that they're going to own the network. First of all, I hope that, Steve's like, yeah, okay, guess what I have in the works? Cohen TV. And, you can have SNY, and you're going to play, beer money and loudmouths. But, eventually Cohen – somehow, some way, is going to own the TV rights to his own team. I don't know how he's going to get it done, but he's fucking gonna. But what if you told the Wilpons, we're going to build up all of Flushing Meadows and Willets Point, and we'll get rid of the chop shops. And if they have a hand in that, maybe that's the way to just get the Wilpons to sign off on this and be like, you can be a part of the real estate development, but just, give me this team and get the fuck out of the way.
How about our boy Stevie Cohen? It's if he wants SNY. Imagine being I could be Gary, Keith, and Ron's fucking, and that the fucking song. That in itself, that's worth $1 billion. Just the fucking song. So the fact that he can just kind of do it if he wants to is crazy to me.
I know that they say it's off the table, but again, if you're the Wilpons, you're hemorrhaging money. You have been. You got creamed by Madoff. You are notoriously in bad shape financially. And now, if you wanted to, you could just have $4 billion. You could just have it. It's just there. Or at the very least, you could have $2 billion. Just take it and run. Again, after 2 decades of nothing mattering except the last penny on the bottom line, now all of a sudden, we're going to be men of principle, and we're going to be thinking with emotion instead of our fucking wallets, and we're going to turn down, several more $100 million. It's just, that doesn't add up. And if they end up doing that, that might be their dirtiest move of all. If all of a sudden this is when the Wilpons aren't all about the money, fuck off. It's got to happen. It's going to happen. Put it in the books. Uncle Stevie Cohen is going to own the Mets. Yes. Because this is the thing. Here's my thing, Clem. This is the dawn of a new era, okay? And the mush, the KFC mush, is from the Wilpon life and the Wilpon era. If Steve Cohen is going to be the owner of this team and going to do the things that we think he's going to do, like sign Mookie Betts immediately and drop his dick on the table and make a big splash, then he's mush-proof. So I'm going to say it, and then that means it's either meant to be or it's not. Stevie Cohen. Gonna own the Mets. Put it in the books.
You said we're gonna run our our episode, like we'll rerun it after the bid came in and everything. Then we're gonna rerun the episode when it all fell apart after this one falls apart again, and it's gonna be the same thing. We're like, how did we not see the mush coming? We did not respect the mush enough.
Stevie Cohen is so rich, he's above the mush. Okay.
That is the thing. If Steve Cohen is the guy I've been told he is, from Billions, from all these business people, the book, Black Edge or whatever.
The skinny man with his hands up.
Yeah, exactly. Like if that's that dude, he's not. There's no mush. He buys the mush and he sends it to fucking Saturn. So I will agree with that. The thing is though, as a Mets fan, like we always are trying to figure out, all right, where's the hook coming from? How are we going to get our guts ripped out? And I'm just trying to figure out how the Wilpons are such. They're Armando Benitez. They're fucking Edwin Diaz last year. They're that guy. They can blow anything. You do not put anything past them. But you are my Mets Fans Anonymous sponsor, and you've talked me into it. I'm in now. I'm in with my heart from day one. I want to believe, but my brain is saying,
"You gotta believe. You gotta believe." But you gotta believe, Clem. This is it. This is where we think we are going to be different people. We are going to be. It's no longer Mets Fans Anonymous. It's like we're like the 7 line now. We're just going to be loud and proud because it's going to be we're talking about how happy we are, not how miserable we are, because it's happening and it's the dawn of a new era. And I really will be honest, even if it's Plan B, even if it's Rapoli in them, it's going to be a new era. Mets baseball. Sienna's pumped. We're all happy.
This is what scares me. Is I've already like I said, I'm going through like how they're gonna blow it. Is it like single, double, home run? Is it single? Is it just 4 home runs in a row? And I feel like it's gonna be they piss off Cohen. He bows out again. The Rapoli deal falls through because A-Rod was such a cocksucker as a player. All the fucking owners hate him. And then like there's like something with Rapoli. All it takes is one person's money where they're not going to prove it. And then 2021 on opening day, it's fucking 6 a.m. on Groundhog's Day. We're waking up going, here we go again. And then if the Wilpons, they sell a part of the team to get their money to float them through the latest debt. I'm just trying to get
You're starting to scare me because a lot of people are trying to say it's making sense. No, we're not doing that. 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 It's just too logical. You have a bunch of clowns who are losing money. We are in the middle of a pandemic. The economy is probably only going to get worse. There's one obvious answer on how to protect yourself in this climate and how to undo all of your wrongs and how to get out of your debt and how to get this fucking weight off your shoulders and how to have plans for the future of commercial real estate, which is in flux. All of this is pointing to if you can just get yourself $2 billion or maybe more, you just fucking do it. You have to. Right?
Now, this is the part that makes me feel a little better. So round 1, I think, was just everyone getting their money out. Steve Cohen took his giant dick out, obviously, $4 billion worth of dick. And now it's like, all right, they get to kind of negotiate with the Wilpons, probably see the books. And from what it sounds like, the Wilpons books is like the Ark of the Covenant in Indiana Jones. Your face will melt off, eyeballs blow out of your head, and you die when you see what these fucking idiots who have somehow lost $50 million a year when teams are making like $300 million a year.
I mean, that is, I was listening to Maggie and Moose, and they had on one of these guys who's like a financial analyst who said, when you look at the financials, it's even worse than what we think. Which is like, we already think the worst. I can't imagine someone being like, all right, the Mets are a dumpster fire. Let's take a look. Like, oh my God. Think about that. Really, but honestly, think about that. If you're a financial person, if you're, Steve Cohen is J-Rod, Nalo, and all those guys, like, they've got money, but they're not like financial freaks the way Steve Cohen is. So Steve Cohen has seen it all. Good companies, bad companies. He's probably bought pieces of shit and turned them around. And a lot of these guys are probably prepared for it to be bad. and then the report being that like when you see it, it even stuns you. It sounds impossible. It sounds like, I mean, how could you? What could be worse? We know about Madoff. We know about the loans. We know about all the incompetence financially. And these guys are telling me when you take a look at it, it's even worse. It's impossible.
I equate it to like walking in a crack house and you hear about a crack house and then you're just like literally walking on like human shit and like probably just dead humans. There's probably just dead humans in the Mets books.
You have stage 4 cancer. I mean, as bad as it can get. And you go to the doctor and they open you up and they take a look and they're like, holy shit, this is like, we've never even heard of this. This is like stage 10 cancer. It's like, how much worse could it possibly be? It sounds like it's that. But that also, again, leads me to one direction. It's like, then you need to take as much money as you possibly can to try to, undo all this. So why take 1.7 when you can take 2? And why keep this fucking network if you can get another 2? It's just, the SNY thing doesn't make sense to me. How valuable can that be? It's Mets games and then a bunch of other, like, I watch like this Geico Sports Night, but it's not, it's not amazing. And it's just the rest of the time it's beer money and loudmouth. I can't imagine it being that valuable. But I also wonder too if all of these things are bids for the potential, like the Wilpons know that they suck and this franchise is trash. But they're not selling like the Mets. They're selling a New York City sports franchise. Yes. Like it's almost like Steve Cohen's at the closing for his house. And he can see the house is on fire. The piece of fucking the actual structure he's about to buy is burning down. And he's still going to sign it because it's on a beautiful waterfront property that the actual plot of land is the most valuable thing in the world. And so I think the Wilpons even know that. It's like, you're not really buying this garbage because we know you're going to just do everything differently and you're going to turn this into what it should have been the whole time. So I feel like the whole thing is bidding and buying based on potential. And so if that's the case, Bloomberg valued SNY at $1.2 billion in 2013. Now I wonder if that has gone up or down since then. Like the channel itself has not like changed. It's like I said, it's still just like the silly programming and repeats in between games. But I think the value is, again, like if Steve Cohen can get his hands on that, and I don't know, maybe you put like a couple Mets fans on SNY to do like a show that's, 2 Mets fans, 1 positive, 1 negative, and we talk about there are options out there for smart guys like Steve Cohen, which is like, we're not going to run beer money for 36 hours straight. We're going to do some cool shit, and then it'll actually be worth, more than that. I think that's probably what's going on here. But
and that's the thing.
How do you say no to it?
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. I think Steve Cohen, he got as far as he did the last time. I think he knows all the shit. He knows the fucking chaos of this crack house Mets, all the books. I think this will be the interesting thing. How many of these bidders that make it to round 2 after they see that stick around? Because I think there's going to be a few who will be like, get me the fuck out. Our guy Rapoli, we love him. Guy took, like I said, not only did he turn these 2 like water or drink companies into like behemoths, he also like took over Pirates Booty. Pirates Booty was awesome. The first time you ever had Pirates Booty, you loved it. It had the good bag. Everything about Pirates Booty was awesome. He didn't turn like fucking, you weren't chewing like gravel and he fucking sold gravel. And that's what the Mets basically are with the Wilpons. There's a chance when you get it down the road, you give them some love, it's going to turn into a delicious product. Right now, it's shit. You're eating literal pieces of shit with the Mets right now. Jeff Wilpon is shitting in your mouth.
I don't think, again, to go back to the house analogy, if I was like, yeah, this plot of land is beautiful, but I don't have the means to completely overhaul the rest of it to turn it into the full package it deserves to be, then I wouldn't buy it. It's like, yeah, I love this waterfront piece of property, but I'm not going to be able to tear this house down and rebuild a beautiful mansion. That's what Steve Cohen can do. And he can do it like that. Like I genuinely believe he's going to just sign Mookie Betts. And it's like within minutes of him owning this team, he is rebuilding this house the way it's meant to be. The other guys, it feels like they've leveraged themselves up to just be able to get in the door, and there's a lot more work to be done. So why even put yourself in that position where it's like, yeah, we can own this team, but we can't turn it around the way like it deserves to be turned around, at least not quickly. Whereas like that's what Steve's going to do. And that's where I'm saying the owners are going to be like, within a couple years, this team should be, a marquee franchise that's competing with the best of the best. And that's good for all of us. So like, why mess around with this like celebrity? Like if it wasn't A-Rod and J-Lo, I don't think this would have the same traction. I think there's like a sex appeal, and it's like it ain't about. You want sexy? Look at Uncle Stevie Cohen. Man, that's dripping with sex, as is his artwork, as is his reputation, as is. And by the way,
his sharks. Say the formaldehyde shark. Put some respect on that shark.
Formaldehyde shark. That's what That's what Steve Cohen is. By the way, they put him in timeout for his SEC, infractions, and he's just a shark in the formaldehyde waiting. And that he's done with the SEC. He's on .72 now. He's back. He's back in action, and he's going to own this team. And he's going to be a fucking killer great white. He's just going to own this goddamn league. It's going to be, I think, one of, if not the, I'm trying to think of the other examples of like new ownership coming in and dropping dick. Like I know we talked about all the time. The Red Sox got new ownership. They broke the curse. Cubs broke their curse. The Dodgers kind of turned everything around, even though they haven't won. But I think the way that Steve Cohen's going to do it, with the swagger and the competitive nature and the dropping dick on the table, I think it's going to be the best like sports overhaul via ownership like ever. I think if he lives up to his hedge fund reputation in the baseball world, I think it's gonna be like a moment for sports where they're like, remember what Steve Cohen did with the New York Mets in 2020.
And that might be honestly part of the reason the Wilpons don't want to sell to him is because they don't want to be like the other side. They don't want to be the Wally Pipp to the Lou Gehrig. But I mean, at some point, it's not gonna make a difference. And
it's man. Like it's like it's almost like when you trade someone because it's not gonna work, right? And that player is a guy who just needs a change of scenery, and he's gonna go off and be awesome. But you're admitting to yourself, like, it's just not going to work here. It's like Odell Beckham or something like that, where it's like if he were to thrive, and he's not really, but say he was thriving in Cleveland, I think the Giants could still rest easy at night being like, it was never going to work. So, yeah, the Wilpons are going to be remembered as like, look how this is what it could have been had they done things the way Steve Cohen did. But they're not capable of it. So just swallow your pride. Understand that this is not – your legacy is fucked one way or the other as Mets owners, and just get the most money you possibly can.
Jeff Wilpon, if you're listening, I know you're a Barstool fan. I know you and Dave went to Michigan, the Michigan men together. This is our slogan. Jeff Wilpon, swallow your pride and swallow Steve Cohen's dick. Just do it do it for your family, do it for your future, do it for little Bradley. You can fucking hire all his little friends to be little real estate consultants now. They don't have to be fucking bullpen catchers in AA for the next 10 years, just grinding their knees to dust. Just fucking swallow your pride and swallow Steve Cohen's dick and all his money and everything that comes with it. Literally and figuratively.
Because I will. I'll be swallowing my dick.
I'll swallow his dick right now.
I would absolutely blow Steve Cohen. Like, just no doubt. If that's what he wanted, sure. Whatever it takes. I am. I mean, so where are you at? Like, I think it's going to happen. I really genuinely do. Do you think that what's a bigger probability here? The Wilpons fuck it up or Steve Cohen gets it done? It's unstoppable force, immovable object. It's versus the guy who gets everything done,
And it's like the only thing with him is that it's like, when does he like fuck these guys? And it's like the other side of Steve Cohen.
Yeah.
I you know what? I'm gonna say I'm leaning more towards Cohen getting it done because I think he knows that this is the end. We're in the end game now. We're in the fucking end game, and he lost him once. He doesn't want to lose him again.
You definitely believe it's over for the Wilpons, one way or the other.
Like 0.01, they're still alive because they're such motherfucking like. But you know what? No, the coronavirus has killed them. Coronavirus has killed them.
Yeah. I really do believe. I think this is almost like I'm throwing out as many analogies as I can here, but I think they're at the point where you know when the breakup, when the relationship's not going to work, and you're just like, we're going to break up. And I don't know, breakups. It's like Seinfeld with the Coke machine. It might take a couple times. It might be a long, drawn out procedure here, but I don't think the Wilpons have the mindset of like, we're going to run this team for the next 25 years. I think they have mentally committed to the idea of getting out of the game. And so I think they're out. I think it's just a matter of to who and what the best opportunity and what the best package is for them, not just money wise, but apparently pride wise. I think it's 100% that the Wilpons are out. And I think it's 100% that it's going to go to Steve Cohen.
All right, this is the Mush's greatest test yet. Steve Cohen versus the Mush. Who you got? We'll put that on the fucking blog.
I'm too excited about the possibility to say anything otherwise. It's going to be the best thing that's ever happened to me. Legitimately. It's like, I have to say my kids, and then there's
it's Steve Cohen, kids, and a whole bunch of shit, whatever. Who cares? Yeah.
Right.
It was so nice last night just to have like a kumbaya Mets Twitter moment where basically 9 out of the 10 times we're all just swimming in each other's tears and holding each other and crying. It was so nice to have all the memes, all the jokes, everyone just having fun. It was so nice. The season's probably not even going to happen. So this was basically our one moment of joy that we have.
All the better, because I do really believe that the Mets are going to make a little bit of noise, and I don't want the Wilpons having any change of hearts or any bullshit like that. And I think that people don't realize that, at least speaking for myself, when everyone's always talking about how I'm a hater and how I'm negative and all that shit, like, it'll change like that. You give me Steve Cohen and a new Mets existence, I'll be the happiest motherfucker you ever met. It's just that like that's what I've committed my love to, and it's just been kicking me in the dick for the last 35 years. If you eliminate that, I will be the nicest, most positive, pro guy you've ever met. It's going to change my life entirely.
Have you talked to Mama Clancy about this recently?
Yep.
How's she doing? Let's get a temperature on her.
She is basically saying what I was saying. Like, if the Wilpons now decide that they're not about the money, that she's just going to freak out. She's been she's pumped that that there's if Cohen works out, that Dave won't be the owner of the Mets. Because whereas I was like, I don't give a shit, she was like, I don't want that. I don't want Dave owning the Mets. So and I told her, I'm like, listen, J-Rod, Steve Cohen aside, I don't know if the last couple weeks was going to help the Dave being a professional franchise owner. Anyway, I don't know if that was even still on the table, but she does not want Dave owning the Mets. So I think that's what she's happy about.
I've never thought of it as like as your buddy, as a coworker, whatever you want to say. Like I've always, I'm a stoolie, even like you versus Dave. Haha, it's funny. And Kevin, even like when he was laughing at you for the Gillespie thing, and that hurt obviously, but it's like, it's funny. You appreciate that's your son when that's your baby.
Yeah.
That has to hurt, man. Poor Mama Clancy.
That's my little baby boy, and like fuck this guy. So she's actually not like, it's not like fuck this guy. I think she's just like, we can't have that. We can't like, it's the colliding of worlds. We just can't have that. So she's pumped about that. Otherwise, she's being a little more, she's kind of like you, like, let's not counter our tickets here. Like, let's wait it out. But I'm okay calling it, because it's just like, all right, for my 20th analogy of the episode, it's like the 28-3 game. I remember at halftime thinking to myself, if the Patriots and when the Patriots come back, I'm going to be miserable anyway. But if they don't, I get to be the guy who was dancing on your graves starting at the second quarter. So let me maximize my opportunity to be happy, because the alternative is like I'm back at rock bottom. I'm always at rock bottom. So what's the difference? So I'm saying, let me enjoy the Steve Cohen-ness right now, because if it goes away, at least I got a little bit. And if it doesn't go away and my dreams come true, then I'm off and running, and I've been doing it since day one. I wish I stuck through it, the whole thing. I wish when we got our insider source news, I wish I said, you know what? Nah, it's still going to happen. I wish I rode for Steve Cohen the whole time because that's how I'm going to be. So I want to start it immediately. I want when Steve Cohen, when he listens to the podcast and when he gets wind of who we are, I want him to be like, oh, that was the dude who knew I was going to do this from the fucking first second my name was out there. And that's what I'll say to him when I'm blowing him. I'll be blowing him. Dude, I knew you were going to do it the whole time.
I love it, as you're sucking his dick. I want Steve Cohen to know we are the most pro Steve Cohen podcast since day one. Our own boss is fighting with the SEC, I think, on a daily basis on his live stream. We fucking hate the SEC. Fuck them all. I like the football conference, but the SEC, the Stockholm, whatever the fuck, I don't even know what it stands for. I don't care what it stands for. They're fucking crooks, all of them. We are pro Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen, we fucking hate you. We love you. If you want us to do an SNY show, I'll do it for like only $1 million. That's fucking ashtray money for
you. No big deal, man. Just $1 million, whatever. It's cheap. I
feel like Steve Cohen has to be like a pro Barstool guy too. Like he's a guy who lives on the edges. We live on the edges. Yeah. Black Edge could be the fucking name of our fucking like the way we came up, you know. So
Steve Cohen, you can own me. Like,
yeah.
I'm officially throwing my name into the package here. You don't get SNY, you get the team, you get the stadium, you also get Kevin Clancy. Not really worth much, but hey, let's sweeten the pot. I'll do literally anything you want, brother.
Yeah, but little bodies. I'm sure there might be bodies buried. We're not going to ask, but if you need bodies buried, 2 guys here who probably can't work a shovel very well, but we will work it.
I'll bury the bodies. I'll dig up the bodies behind the chop shops to get rid of them. Yes. Now we can just start building up properties. I'll do whatever you want. We'll officially. I'll tell you this: when we do Barstool at the ballpark, we will be sitting in Cohen's corner. I don't know what that is. That's not what the stadium's officially going to call it. But we will roll out there with a big fucking sign that says Cohen's corner, and we will make everything we do here, and we got to believe, Steve Cohen related. Anything
and
you
want. There will be plenty of shirts in the Barstool store.
Actually, I wanted to put this out there for the fans. We were kicking around some of our own ideas. I think I want to make a skinny man, stick man, his very famous $141 million sculpture with Steve's head on it. Clem, you wanted to make a Jesus Cohen where he's coming down from the clouds and the butcher and the baker and the people in the streets are all praising him. I also think one that just says Steve in orange and blue, the way we did Neil. Like we need Uncle Stevie shirts, the Messiah, our salvation, Cash Cohen, whatever. Let us know what you want because I think we can make a bunch, but I think it would be good to have like the official Steve Cohen shirt where everyone buys them. It's like the LFGM. It's kind of like our mantra now. This is our guy. We will have the merch. We will have the Cohen's corner. It'll be the New York Cohens. Rename the fucking team. I don't care. Whatever you want, dude. I wonder how long the City Field, I think it was a 20-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. I mean, that would be interesting if are there any stadiums? I feel like they all make too much money with sponsorship. But imagine if he was just like, this is just called like Cohen's Yard now. And
Cohen Field. Just fucking change the fucking, you can keep the C from City and just put Cohen Field. There's another shirt idea too. Fucking, we're rolling right now, Kev.
I like Jackie Robinson, unbelievable, amazing player, did wonders for like the world. But why don't we just have a Cohen Rotunda? That's just a shrine to this man who saved us. You should play. Go ahead. Put yourself on the team, Steve. Whatever you want.
Imagine if Steve Cohen just built a stadium around Citi Field, and it's just like that was our actual stadium, and Citi Field was kind of like a little pocket where like the kids could play their wiffle ball games.
Right. Like right now, you know, in the concourse, they have that little wiffle ball thing where they do like a challenge. Imagine if that was just the whole field. That's where we run the bases. That's where the dogs come out to play. And then over here is the real stadium, the real fucking field. I mean, the possibilities are endless when you talk about adding a guy of this magnitude and this much money and this much swagger and intent and all that shit. It's going to be galas. It's going to be free agent superstars. It's going to be dick measuring. It's going to happen.
And it's going to be Jared Kelenic and fucking whenever his goddamn contract's up, we're buying Jared Kelenic. He's coming back. We're ripping up the Bobby Bow contract. It's all happening. And something I didn't see coming, but I guess I should have. I don't know how you're going to handle this because this is your boy. We're going to have ourselves a little bit of a war here with Red Sox fans, it looks like. I could see the Red Sox war coming. Your boy fucking chirped at us last night through some Kelenic stuff. Mr. fucking national baseball writer came and had to chirp at us. How are we going to handle this?
Well, first thing I'm doing, we will be making a Mookie Mets shirt. And you can talk all the shit you want about Jared Kelenic. That one hurts. But when you see Mookie with the Mets M and Betts or Mets in the Mets writing, and I think what the deal is, I think the best way to do it is to spell it like Betts, but use the Mets writing. So it'll be METTS, Mookie Mets, in the Mets font. And that will crush Jared Carrabis. I don't want to just say Red Sox fans. I want no smoke with Red Sox fans. I love them. They are our brothers in arms. I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, mean it. I have always rooted for the Red Sox, like one level below the Mets, just because we are in this thing together. But the Rocket, that's a different story. The Rocket wants to start to get a little mouthy with me. We'll start running up the score on Mookie Mets type thing. Because it's happening. It's happening.
This is some Game of Thrones shit. We have all these armies, and we've all faced like the common enemy of the Lannisters together, who are the Yankees.
Yeah.
But now things are breaking off. We might have a new, like, Steve Cohen is our fucking god. He's the god of light right now. He's the god of straight cash homie. So we have now like branched off into our own thing, and strange bedfellows are coming up all over the place. And I think, this is the other thing. Carrabis has long been, he's been punching at the Yankee fans. And we said, when Yankee fans you punch down on because they don't know the kind of shit we've had to grow up with and the shit Jared grew up with. He grew up with the curse of the Bambino. But Kevin Clancy versus Jared Carrabis in a fucking war of the way. It's going to be an interesting fight right here.
We talked about this a little bit like 6 months ago. I don't want it. But I'm not we can do this. I just don't think it's necessary. Like if Mookie Betts is not going to be on the Red Sox, why would you not want it to be on the Mets?
Right? I'm with you. And listen, I want Mookie Betts to come here. I want Stevie to that would be his like stamp. If he goes to the Red Sox, though, like, hey, let's just get the next best center fielder, whoever it may be. I'm not married to Mookie. It doesn't have to be Mookie Betts. The other thing about this too with Mookie Betts, and this might be kind of a hot take, but like if he's going to do legit Mike Trout money, I don't know. Like he's 29 or whatever, 27. 10-year contract for whatever, unless you're just going to say, hey, center field is fixed for the next decade. Justin, are we ready for that?
Justin, are you telling me you're worried about the contract money? That's
true. I'm living in the old world. I'm living in the old world right now.
No, Mookie Betts, I'll give him a 25-year deal worth $1.5 billion. I don't give a fuck, and neither does Uncle Steve. So, like, there's no cap. There's not a concern in the world. You got to shift your mind, brother. We are living in the future now.
You know who I want to sign as our closer? Patrick Mahomes. Buy him from the Chiefs. Hey, Pat, see that fucking money? None of half that, like, what is like $100 million guaranteed? I'll give you $500 million guaranteed just to play a fucking sport you and probably played since high school. Your old man was here and you're a Mets fan. Come on, the flushing.
We already got the jerseys. We already got Mets Mahomes jerseys ready for you. You can just put it on and play ball with your Kermit the Frog voice. Let's fucking go. I mean, the possibilities are legitimately endless. And that's why I think it's going to be the best thing that's ever happened to us. And I do believe it will happen. And we're just waiting on word. And by the way, I have to officially say this. I will be waiting on word. I will not be waiting on Laura Goldman's word. I have to rebuke her. I have to. You can't ride for Ghislaine Maxwell. She's a monster. She's a rapist. She's a murderer. I don't care if you're friends or not. But just for a little background, one of the Mets like insiders that we've been following and praising apparently wants to back Jeffrey Epstein's girl. I just can't do it. So, little programming note, because I definitely got some people chirping me, being like, "This is your king, this is your queen." Not anymore, but I do respect her inside sources. So I'm waiting on word, and when it happens, we're throwing a fucking party, brother. We're throwing a literal party. If Corona permits it, somehow, some way, there will be it's a celebration, bitches. We will be partying when the Messiah comes back.
I mean, I don't know what the traffic's like in Manhattan these days, considering it's fucking Corona world plus like somewhat lawlessness in the streets in New York City. I will have a parade down the Canyon of Heroes. I will just walk down the Canyon of Heroes and throw confetti on my own head.
Will there be cake and punch served?
There will be the finest cake and punches served.
The punch will be like freshly squeezed from like the mangoes of Bali or some shit. And the cake will be made by the finest of bakers. The meats will be cut from the finest of butchers. And the people in the streets will rejoice because our salvation is here, coming down from the clouds, coming down from his ivory tower, just handing out money to the sinners, providing hope and happiness and salvation to the loyalist of followers who have been here. I feel like we're almost like we're like the tribe. We're like the chosens. We're like the Jewish people who have just been waiting on our Messiah. We're like, no. Jesus wasn't the real deal. We're content to wait for our true Messiah. He's here.
He's here.
He's fucking.
We deserve it too. We deserve it. Everyone knows all the shit we've been through. I think we lost him.
I was going to say, how spiteful are you towards the Wilpons? Like, let's say that the sale's done. They get it signed off on before the season starts. They're only playing 60 games. Do you really want them to have a World Series for the Wilpons right on their way out the door? It's like a real World Series. At that point, I'm like, let's just mail it in for 2021. I don't want them to walk out on a high note. Like, fuck
Absolutely that. Not. I am so positive that we will win a World Series under Steve Cohen that I used to always say, I'll take it any way I can get it. That's how high I am. I've gone from rock bottom to the point that I'm like, I don't want this World Series.
Anyway, it's 60 games. Unless we win and they don't sell the team, at which point, then it counts.
But even that, okay. How about that? Mets win the World Series this year. The Steve Cohen thing falls through, and the Wilpons continue to own the team. Do you do that?
No, I wouldn't take a World Series this year for there to be a 1% less chance for Steve Cohen though.
Right. We got to think long term here, folks. And unless you're on your deathbed, I can understand. You just got to see one on the way out. But I don't want them to play at all.
Apple stock in like 1998, like, oh yeah, I made some money on it. It's like, yeah, right. You can have like $10 million.
I would be good with not even playing at all. Let's just pack it in, shut it down. And we'll just wait for Steve Cohen. Oh, God, my whole life would be changed. The whole thing would be fucking different.
But now, this is the thing, though. We're saying this now, and like we're gonna basically root against our team. It sounds like essentially for the rest of the year. But when you see Yo hitting fucking bombs, and you just hear Pete just fucking cracking shit, that's gonna be when things.
Usually going in the moment, but it's like you gotta think big picture here. It's like hooking up with an ex. You know, in the moment, you're banging and it's great, but you're like, well, boy, this is going to fuck me for the future. You know? This is going to be a problem for the long term. So just put your dick away. We need to do the equivalent of like baseball JJO. Just don't get hopped up for this season. Think about the future and let's focus. Eye on the ball here, eye on the prize, because we got bigger things to worry about than a game fake season, if it even happens. The fact that baseball is already talking about 2021 schedules and whatnot, it just feels, and football's falling apart in college. Like, it just feels like, I don't know. I mean, I've gone back and forth. My latest thing is that I think there is going to be a season because nobody wants to be the bad guy to pull the trigger. I was talking to Jared about this on CCK. Unless, like, the government mandated, like, this is too dangerous, is Manfred going to be the one to shut it down? That guy, there's no way he wants another dose of bad press. Do the players want to pull the plug? They don't want to be seen as like pussies, and they don't want to be seen as the guys who are taking away baseball. The owners maybe could be the guys who just say like, hey, we're not making money as it is, so let's just like say it's too unsafe. But it does feel like the ball is rolling so much that who's going to be the one guy, the one party to say no? So now I'm leaning towards, as much as I've been like, there's no baseball. I think that the stats and the problems will say there shouldn't be baseball, but I don't think anybody will have the stones or are willing to take on the PR hit to be the guys, who pull the plug.
Wow. And I have now switched to the other side. I feel like if there's any sport that does like just call it, it's going to be because the Players Association would be like, no. And they know, like, you really do have the excuse. Like, no one's come out, like, not one NBA player who was like, I'm not going in the bubble. Nobody's been like, oh, this fucking selfish. They're like, yeah, like, of course. Like, that shit sucked. Mike Trout is like, if Mike Trout just up and leaves because he has a pregnant wife, which, like, the way that is all kind of just with the timing, it's like, you can't get mad at the guy. And at the same point, that is a devastating blow for Major League Baseball, even though no one knows what the fuck he looks like. Because then once Mike Trout does it, every other player is like, well, he did it. You know what I mean? Right. So I'm
not surprised. I thought David Price was going to have more of an effect than it did. But, a couple of those happen. And Jared seems to think they'll start, but they'll stop. I don't think that's likely. I feel like if it's going, unless there's like a true catastrophic spike in COVID, I feel like once it starts, they're going to just like let's just get to the finish line, because if Corona's here, it's going to be here in 4 months too. So why don't we just try to like play some baseball? But I don't think that's right or smart, but I could just see them being like the horses out of the barn on this one.
Yeah. And we just need an opening day. So then the service time starts. And then next year when we have Steve Cohen, we have free agents to bid on instead of just going on for another season. The good thing of all this, the one positive is that Jed Lowry, his injuries are not a distraction. He's not allowing them to be a distraction because he doesn't want them to be a distraction. So, Kevin, Jed Lowry is not a distraction because he doesn't want them to be a distraction.
You could make the argument that there is one answer to that question that would cause a distraction, and he gave it. If Jed Lowry just said what his injuries were, and he was just like, my back hurts again, they'd be like, wow, I can't believe he's still hurt, but okay. If he just said if he even said, I don't really know, like doctors aren't sure. But to say, I don't want to be a distraction is a distraction. It's the only distraction. It's an absolute joke. It's comical. People are talking. I saw a couple guys tweeting me being like, why do you even, like, who cares? Like it's just Jed Lowry. And I get it, but it's so symbolic, It's like, when DJ LeMahieu was probably going to bat fucking 400 this year, and we went with Jed Lowry, he is the embodiment of Wilpon's nickel and diming. So I'm going to harp upon it every time. And when I see Jared Kelenic hit a ball that makes a noise I've never fucking even heard before, I'm going to harp upon it because the Robbie Cano deal is also so Wilpon's. And these things need to never forget. Never forget. We're getting baseball, the 20-year anniversary next year, Mets versus Yankees. It's going to be a heartbreaking but a memorable sports moment. Never forget 9/11. Never forget what the fucking Wilpons have done. We need to remind people every single time that Jed Lowry is a distraction or not playing. We need to remind people every single time that Jared Kelenic seems to be doing things on a baseball field that are like unheard of. It's important.
It's important. It's an important thing to do. This is the world we live in now. The world we live in the future. This fucking Steve Cohen's going to invent flying cars and a futuristic society for all of us. We have to appreciate the past so we can move ahead to the future. And I just find it. And then like LeMahieu, I forgot that they fucking just left Asdrubal Cabrera on red, and then he goes to the fucking Nationals and wins the. It's like it's the perfect way to represent. And listen, I don't want this to come off negatively, but like. Brody, everyone's sucking Brody's dick. It's like all Brody did was like bring up Pete Alonso last year, who was already on the team. Like, and listen, JD Double Davis. I love the guy. It's like he didn't find Mookie Betts at the same point.
Right.
Like JD, he still doesn't have like a defensive position. He's a masher without it, which is exactly what he was in Houston. And it's good the DH is here now if we ever need to move him there. But it's like. You can't just be like, well, you got JD Double Davis. It's like there's like 7 other things. He almost traded Jeff McNeil to the fucking Mariners in that trade too.
Yo, I'll tell you what, I am, me, baseball purist. I've hated the DH as long as the DH has been around. I do agree that the leagues should have the same rules. And so my answer to that would be getting rid of the ALDH. But I understand it's never going to happen. The argument's over. The DH has won. And so in that case, the New York Mets are like the number one beneficiary from this. With Cespedes, Dom Smith, and JD Double Davis. That's like three guys who are going to benefit so much from the DH that, I mean, this lineup, man, when you throw in the idea that you're not sacrificing defense anymore with some of these guys, I mean, that's a fucking – when you got – I saw Evan Roberts barking about the lineup and how he would organize it. And there's honestly a couple different ways you can go, all of which I'd be pretty happy with. There's so many young guys who, like, there's nobody that you have to be like, he has to bat here. You know what I mean? Like, even with Pete, it's like you can make the argument 3, 4, whatever. You want this person protecting this person, that guy protecting him. Like, with Nimmo, you can lead off, or he could be like the bottom of the order, a double leadoff guy. McNeil, you can put anywhere. As long as you have some sort of middle of the lineup of Conforto, Alonso, Cespedes, and I mean,
keep going. Give it to me.
I mean, I think McNeil and Nimmo being your table setters one way or another, either if it's 1-2 or 9-1, whatever. And then that the meat of that lineup, man, Conforto, Alonso, Cespedes, JD. I mean, and heaven help us if you even get like a couple week stretch where Robinson Cano is even a fucking fraction of himself. You know, it just starts to be a real lineup. It's something we haven't had in a long time. We've had real pitching. We haven't had a real lineup since, you know, the 06, 07, like those years. It's a nice change of pace, I'll tell you that much, Clem.
It's banana land that we have now been like, oh, if the pitching can hold up, like we had 5 fucking arms of death in our fucking rotation. Now it's like, well, if DeGrom, you know, does DeGrom stuff, and Matz is looking great. Obviously, Noah's out for the year, and Stroman's pitching for a contract, and you kind of tuck yourself in. It's crazy. However, just like when the first time Stevie Cohen kind of like wiped Zach Wheeler out of the news, Robinson Cano's just not a camp. He's just not there.
No,
he hasn't been for 3 days. And I don't know if it's Corona. It could be Corona. It could be. Let me get on
the phone with Robbie Cano and just tell him some stats and be like, "You should just stay home. You should just stay home. It's dangerous out there, man. You don't want to come out here. And while you're at it, maybe you should just retire completely. I've heard, you know, the Dominican Republic is safe. There's no cases. Just like go home wherever you're from. Just go. Get out of here. You don't want it anymore. But yeah, I mean." It's totally backwards from what we've been doing the last few. I mean, think about that. We're going to go from the Wilpons and pitching to Steve Cohen and bats. I'll welcome that change any fucking day, man. I mean, the future is bright. Hope springs eternal, motherfuckers. And we're going to end on this note. We deserve, Steve Cohen, we deserve to be a cardboard cutout in the stands at Citi Field. I want front row. I want me, Clem, Stu Feiner, Frank the Tank, Darren from the 7 line, and
I want Kyle there, but he's fucking half awake watching the Giants game like an idiot last game. Like a fucking idiot.
You know what? If the Wilpons weren't selling this team, you know what I bet they'd be doing? I bet they'd be offering you could buy that. The same way you could buy a brick in Citi Field. I bet, you know, you pay like $1,000 and you can get your little son or daughter to be a cardboard cutout at Citi Field. And you could sell that whole front section and make an extra like $70,000. And that would be like, oh my God, let's do it because we're the fucking cheapest motherfuckers on the planet. But obviously they don't have to worry about that anymore because they're going to go get $2 billion from Steve Cohen. And anybody who disagrees with that, I got 3 words for you.
Gotta believe.
Woo! It's gonna happen.